One day, last week, I think it was, I ran into Nate downstairs at Rust Belt. Shocking, right? That I would run into him down there. And I was telling him how I was preparing for this talk. And what I was doing was I'd written a pretty decent but very scripted speech. And I do not want this thing to be a speech. I want it to be a talk. I want it to be a conversation starter. So I scrapped the whole thing and started over from scratch, which scared the crap out of me. But I really distilled it down to 3 key points, or 3 questions, I guess, that I hope you guys will kind of ask yourselves. I don't want to just say it out loud and you guys hear it. I want you to ask yourselves these questions. And that is why my laptop is sitting in front of me, because it's basically a digital cue card right now. Since I scrapped the whole talk and started over, this is basically it. Anyway, housekeeping. The title is intentionally misleading. You can do more in Toledo. This is not one of those rah-rah, yay Toledo, I love this place so much, it's so awesome, right? It's not one of those talks, although I do believe that. I decided to stay here. I almost left for Dallas. Oh, look who showed up. I decided to stay here when I almost moved to Dallas earlier in the year. So the emphasis is not on Toledo. The emphasis is on you doing more. I want you to do more in Toledo. And the inspiration for this talk are those people who seem to have more than 24 hours in the day, right? You know the people I'm talking about. They serve on boards. They seem to be a member of every civic and social group in town. They may be on their children's PTO. The list goes on and on and on. They're always doing something. Every time you turn around, whether you're talking to them, a friend of theirs, see it on Facebook, they have done something else, right? And I could never understand that. I could not for the life of me grasp how they found the time to do all this stuff within the same 24 hours in a day that I have. So I should probably start by saying what I am doing right now and where I came from. About a year ago, as a few people in here can attest to, I pretty much worked, came home, lounged about, watched some television, and wasted my life. And was I content doing that? No, not really. But I didn't really know what else to do, and I was wasting a lot of time. What I'm doing now, I am working full-time-ish. I don't really go into the office 40 hours a week, but I am working full-time. Thanks to Trish's suggestion, I'm now serving on the board of Downtown Perrysburg, Inc. I am also on the core planning team of Detroit Startup Week. If anybody in here is into the entrepreneurial side of things, you know what it is. May 22nd through the 26th is Detroit Startup Week. Totally free event. Most of it's happening at the Detroit Masonic Temple. Beautiful, beautiful venue. It's going on all week. There's going to be breakfast. There's going to be happy hours afterward, all that kind of stuff. So I'm serving on the core planning team for that, which there are about 12 of us. And we're expecting approximately 5,000 people this year. So I'm also helping out with a couple of political campaigns. And when I can, I show up to this and Startup Toledo, which is another great organization if you've never been to it. What does it mean to me? It means that I'm doing something more fulfilling with my life. I'm not sitting around wasting away on a couch. I'm actually doing something that benefits not only myself, but other people. So I talked about 3 key points or 3 key questions, right? I'm getting dry already, excuse me, if I take a sip of decaf. I'm already over caffeinated. You guys wouldn't want me drinking coffee right now. The first question is, how can you make time without losing time? How can you make time without losing time? And what I mean by that is, how can you make time to do more without giving up time that you spend doing the things that you already love, right? And that can be a tricky thing because we all have busy lives, very busy lives. You could be a student going to school full-time and working part-time or even full-time to pay your tuition or even just to get ahead of your student loan debt. You could be a small business owner or owners who show up late who spend your entire day working at your business and then your evenings and your days off doing the books, buying the things you need, or any of the multitude of other possible things that you need to run a successful business. You could be a parent whose children are very active in extracurricular activities and sports, and you also work full-time, and you also have a social life. One way or another, we have very busy lives, right? But I think we can agree that we all waste time in one way or another. It could be binge watching Netflix. It could be building your Pinterest boards to a ridiculous amount of pictures. It could be going and gambling at the casino a couple times a month. But I think you have to assess, are those things good use of my time? Are they fulfilling? Yes, you might enjoy them, but are they truly fulfilling? Are they giving you what you want to get out of your life? For me, did I enjoy watching The Young Pope on HBO for 10 hours? No, that show is terrible, right? And if anybody disagrees, I'd be happy to talk to you afterward about why you're wrong. But I could have, right? I could have enjoyed those 10 hours. But were they the best use of my time? Absolutely not. I think most of us create a budget, right? If you have more money left over at the end of the month, after paying out all of your bills, you've probably created a budget of some type. It could be a very formal, rigid budget, pointing over here, that you stick to every month. It could be something that you just jot down on a piece of paper as your bills are coming due, or it could be just something that you have up here. But one way or another, if you are not completely broke and homeless, you've probably created a budget in some way or another. Money is a renewable resource. I know it doesn't seem like it. It never seems like it. It never seems like you have enough money. But one way or another, it is. You can always pick up a second job. I know it doesn't sound easy. You can always start looking for a job that pays better. I know that's not easy either. If all else fails, you can start selling your personal belongings on eBay. One way or another, you can get more money, right? So why do we make a budget for a renewable resource when we don't make budgets for a finite resource? Time is not renewable. You've got what you've got. There's no way to get any more. So what I would encourage you to do is to take inventory of how you're spending your time over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month, whatever it is. Just look back at how you spent your time, even if you have to make a note every day. How did I spend my time? Did I enjoy it? Yes, maybe, no, I don't know. Was it the most optimal use of my time? Could I have done something more fulfilling? Could I have given back to the community? So that brings me to kind of my next question, which is, how do you want to use your made time? We're saying we're making time without losing time. Well, that really depends on you, right? What excites you? What do you love to do? What really gets at you right here? I'm not talking about the stuff you do for work. It could be animals, right? It could be art. It could be any number of things. It could be the tech community. So Nate's going to kill me if I go over, but real quick, what excites you? What do you like?
Art.
Art.
One of the things you said.
Wonderful. How about you?
I like the outdoors.
Outdoors. Okay. Matt, what excites you?
Technology.
Okay. Noah? Everything. Really easy to figure out how he's going to use his time because he can do anything. Chances are, though, if you're excited about anything, there is an organization here in town that is already working to further that cause. There are over 3,000 nonprofits in the Toledo area. Let that sink in. I called BS on that number. I didn't know this until about a week and a half ago when I ran into my friend Amanda up at Black Kite. Sorry, Trish. I went to another coffee shop. And she told me this, and I didn't believe it. So I had to fact check it. I actually had to make a couple phone calls, and it is legitimate. There are over 3,000 nonprofits in Toledo. And I can guarantee you that just about any one of them would be happy to have your time volunteered, whether that's outdoors, art, everything. Another thing is board seats. I know you may think you're too young or too busy or not qualified enough, but board seats require special skills. Do you have them? Do you have the skill set? Are there any marketers in here? Okay. Designers? Coders? This should be easy. What? Really? That's a low turnout for coders tonight. Accountants? Anybody? Okay, well, kind of. You have an in-demand skill set. Whether you know it or not, you do. You might not be able to find the right fit for you at this very moment. You might not be able to find a board that excites you to jump onto at the moment. But trust me when I tell you, it will come. Because there are always boards looking for members. If it hadn't been for me running into Trish at her coffee shop, I would have never known that there was a seat open on DPI. And now that I'm a member of it, and I love what we're getting ready to do. So just know that all these opportunities are out there, whether they're nonprofits, whether they're board seats, whether they're just getting involved in volunteering and helping out with things in the art community and the outdoors, whatever. But that brings me to my last question, which is, what is your first step toward doing more? What do you need to do more? Once you've identified this time, you've identified what you're passionate about, what excites you, what do you have to do next? Last Thursday, I went to Startup Toledo with my friends James and Daryl. And James took some pictures of the gallery. It was a 20 North gallery on North St. Clair downtown here. He took some pictures and he posted them on Facebook. And he was talking about how much he enjoyed the event, how cool of a space it was, and how much he loved the artwork. He took quite a few pictures of the artwork there. And he posted it on Facebook. And a little while later, a friend of his commented, "Wow, I didn't even know places like that existed in Toledo. Is any of that stuff for sale?" Let that sink in for a second. Somebody who's a lifelong resident of Toledo didn't even know there were art galleries in Toledo. If you've ever been to the Third Thursday Art Loop, or whatever the heck it's called now, you know there are quite a few galleries that showcase art by local artists, and they're also for sale. So if there's any one thing that communities in general are not great at, it's consolidating information, resources, and opportunities, right? And that's not a slam on Toledo, that's not a slam on the tech community, the art community, or anything like that. It's just impossible to do. It's impossible to shoehorn all of that information into one place so that people know what's out there. But something as simple as art galleries. If you're interested in art, if you want to take part, and let's just use that as an example, okay? If you're interested in art and you want to figure out how you can get involved, you could call Natalie Jacobs at the Arts Commission. You could call Pam Diaz at Toledo Museum of Art. You could even call Jules over at the Art Supply Depot, and I'm sure she'd be happy to point you in the right direction. One way or another, these people are out there. You just have to find one person to make that connection for you. If you can't, if you search and you cannot find what you're looking for, reach out to me. I have business cards on me. I'm not an incredibly difficult person to find because I post on Facebook all the time and sometimes run my mouth. But I'm not hard to find. Reach out to me. I promise you, if I can't connect you with the right person, I will find someone who can. So, kind of wrap this up. Once you've found time without losing time, once you've made that time without losing it, once you've determined how you want to use it, and if you don't know how to take that first step, come talk to me. All I want to do today is create a conversation. This should not be a speech. I'm not talking at you. I'm not trying to say that I've got it all figured out, because I don't. I'm sure there's a lot of you who could fill in some of the gaps in what I've spoken about here tonight. But I just want to start a conversation. If that's with me afterward, great. If it's amongst yourselves, it's great too. Or if it's even just in your own head, thinking about what you want to do more in Toledo. Fantastic. But I appreciate you guys all for coming out tonight. I truly do. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer. No questions? Am I going to be able to get off the hook that easily? Oh, Trish.
So you talked about a year ago what a different position you were in life. What was it that spurred you to take some action, to make changes?
Probably some realization that I was indeed wasting my life away. A couple people probably reminded me of that. Maybe not so gently at times, but I mean, additionally though, there was just things that I really wanted to be involved in, and I was kind of a wannabe, right? I looked at all these different things that I wanted to be a part of, a community I wanted to be a part of. I would show up to Startup Toledo and want to be a part of that community, but I was pretending, really. Or I'd show up here, you know. Well, actually not back then I wouldn't, but in things like this, events like this. and I'd want to be a part of it, but I really wasn't. I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't contributing in any way. I was just a hanger-on. And I don't know what clicked for me, but I decided that I wanted to do more. And a lot of it kind of kicked in after I decided not to move to Dallas. And that was just earlier this year. And I decided if I was going to stay here, if I was going to be in Toledo, that I wanted to do as much to give back to the town that raised me, basically. So.
What would you do with Dallas?
Kind of more the same. As Nate was mentioning, I am a strategist. For my position right now, I'm an executive strategist for the C.J. Anderson Company. I work with executives in transition, basically, so like startup executives. But prior to that, I was vice president of strategy for a small marketing agency here in town. And those are the opportunities I was looking at down there. Dallas is a really, really vibrant startup community. Downtown is just exploding. And I wanted to be a part of that excitement. I think I was probably running away from Toledo, to be completely honest, when there's plenty to do here, as so many others have done, and then found out that the grass isn't always greener. Fortunately, I figured that out before I moved. So, yeah.
What are you passionate about, and since
Ooh.
figuring out a way to utilize your productivity better, have you discovered any new passions, or have your passions changed?
That's a really good question. What am I passionate about? Startups, for starters. That's kind of an easy answer, though. This little guy right here, my son, Noah. Want to wave to everybody know? And that's part of the reason that I really wanted to be involved in downtown Perrysburg, because he's spent the vast majority of his life there. He takes part in the activities that they've planned and hosted. And me and my family have gotten a lot of enjoyment out of going to those events. So I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be able to give back some of the enjoyment to the community that I got out of it. So that's it in a nutshell. Have I discovered any other things? Get back to me. I'll get back to you. Yes?
My name's Pete. I'm a lifelong Toledoan, business owner, 7 years downtown. I'm
What business,
47. I'm sorry?
What business you own downtown?
Tadmore Transportation,
Okay.
freight brokerage.
All right.
I'm 47. When I look around Toledo, I see potholes, empty buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and my brain is full of that used to be.
Yeah.
And as I look around at young people and you keep seeing startups,
Mhm.
I'd be curious what people see when they look at the same building, what they say, that's going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm still looking at that used to be, and I'm just kind of curious what kind of startup concentration you see coming up in Toledo compared to what we used to be. Because I can't imagine it going back to the way it used to be.
I'm one of those people, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm nostalgic for the future. That's how I describe my view of Toledo. I look at all of what was downtown and this place that just seems so awesome. I've seen pictures of so many things. My parents were here when downtown was thriving. And will we ever recapture that in the same way? Will we fill all of the vacancies in these buildings? Will we ever fill the pothole? The pothole is probably never going to happen, by the way. But yeah. But what do I see coming through here? I think there's a lot of opportunity here because, first of all, it's easy to attract the right kind of talent if we go about it the right way. And that's because the cost of living is incredibly low here. We can get to a lot of major cities very quickly. And I know I'm not telling anybody anything you haven't already heard a million times, but it's true. And it's one of those things where, I've said this before, you will do better in Toledo. Is it a tagline? Yes, it is, but it's true. It's a fact as long as we believe it. So what can we attract here? That really kind of depends on, what opportunities present themselves. And there's a lot going on. He could speak to this. There's a lot going on here. A lot of it's kind of bubbling under. But that same thing happened in Detroit. Detroit bubbled under for probably a good 3 years, did you say? 2-3 years before, maybe longer? Yeah. Before anybody knew what was going on. These types of things were happening around Detroit. People were getting together trying to figure out how you will do better in Detroit. And nobody really knew about it, but it was happening. Groups like this, groups like Startup Toledo, people like Stuart and you, and all these people that are bringing people together to have these types of conversations. Right now, it's potential energy. How do I see it playing out in the next 5 years? I don't know. I really don't. I wish I could give you the answer to that, but I do believe in it. I'll give you a statistic that I just heard, and this is about Michigan. And I use Michigan and Detroit specifically as a reference point for a lot of reasons. One, they're a lot like us. They're very close. And two, they've gone through some of the same struggles, except for probably worse. As far as venture capital in Michigan goes, for every dollar invested in a startup in Michigan by a Michigan investor, $5 are invested by an investor outside of Michigan. That's a pretty crazy statistic. I just read that yesterday, I think. And so there's no reason to believe that we can't do the same thing here in Toledo. It's just a matter of drawing attention. And thank you to people like you who are helping further that. So, yes?
Throw a comment. I'm new here.
Yeah.
You like statistics. I just recently read a statistic a few weeks ago that in the last 500 years, the most significant changes in human history have come down to 7 people.
Okay.
So I think when you start looking at groups...
Am I one of them? No?
7 people.
Okay.
Okay. But no, what I wanted to kind of dovetail into that is, if you go to anything really cool, it usually comes down to one person who had the idea to start that. So, looking around, saying who's going to come in with the idea, like you've done with your life, step up.
Yeah.
It just takes the motivation to get up and do it.
This whole thing was an idea that Nate had. Code City. He's like, what? This is why you have to pay attention to your speakers, Nate. How about one more question so I can let anybody who wants to get into the breakout sessions do that and we can talk afterwards. So anybody? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of been on a similar theme with all the questions, but the main thrust of your talk was, one of the biggest things people can do is really just be involved more of their time. And you also said that there were 3,000 nonprofits that if you're interested in something, they probably already exist and you jump into it.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'd be curious to hear, and we sort of just chatted about a new thing, right? Code City. And
yeah.
I'm getting the feeling there's more of these sort of new ideas starting to bubble up. So what are some new ideas that don't exist that you might want to see maybe to get us closer to Detroit, or what are some key pieces that maybe don't quite exist?
I would have had a good answer to that question if it weren't for you doing what you're doing already. So can you I'm sorry to do this, but can you very quickly tell everybody in the room, I don't know who was here last week, but what it is you're doing?
Sure. Nate asked if I want to say anything, and I said, no, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I don't have to say something every time I come here.
Yes, you do.
But, I'm interested in, I was hoping that you were going to say this to, show that I was right all along in my thinking,
You are.
You say this, really, but I think that there's just more things like this essentially is what I think needs to happen in Toledo, and getting people together. And really what I think it is getting that spirit of people feeling like they have the capability to start a new group or stand up and give a talk,
yeah.
or take that idea that they have about that vacant building, whether it's a startup or a silly idea to get together and play hopscotch or whatever it is, right? To just take these ideas that we have and empower each other to actually act them out. And that's, I think, really what they're doing in Detroit.
Yeah.
They have that culture there. People are moving there who have that idea. And I agree, there's really no reason why Toledo can't be a similar kind of place. And so I'm working on a couple programs. The main umbrella right now is called Civic Digs. And the idea is to bring people together to have that attitude for 2 months. And we have a handful of programming things that we have lined up, including a 24-hour civic hackathon, which is, again, just that energy but just condensed into 24 hours. Let's get together in a room and figure out what we want to create. And then a longer form, which is a week-long version called Free Space, where you take a vacant space like this and, again, bring that same energy. So that's really the thing. And I'm starting to feel it, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks to folks like Nate and lots of other folks who've been in this vessel here. So, that's what I'm interested in seeing.
And that's a really good point. You brought up that you don't have to go out and look at one of the 3,000 nonprofits or groups like this. If you go out and see what's happening in your area of interest and it's not exactly what you want to do, or you think you can bring a fresh idea to that, like I said, we're kind of disconnected, as most communities are. But if you think you can go out there and do something, Nate did. It was just an idea downstairs at Rust Belt, again, oddly enough. All your good stuff happens downstairs. So, but if you think you can go out and start something, or you can create a group, or you can add value to the community by doing something that doesn't exist, by all means do it. You know, don't wait for somebody else to hold your hand or lead you through it, like starting a business like those two did. All right, I'm going to let you guys, so I'm not holding you all hostage, I'll let everybody go here. If you want to talk to me about anything afterward, I will be available.